So I recently got access to a new game called VHS, or Video Horror Society, on Steam. It's the new asymmetrical video game. It's kind of like Dead by Daylight. It's a lot like Dead by Daylight, and it's going into early access very soon. And I wanted to give you guys my thoughts, opinions about the game, what I feel, is it fun or not, and I kind of want to break it down into two parts. One of them is going to be talking about the survivor, or the teens that they call them on this game, and the other part is going to be talking about the monster, the killer. And it's a 1v4 game, so I want to talk about both parts and what I find fun in both parts and not so fun in both parts. And I want to start with the survivor side first, because the survivor side is the most fun that I found out of the two sides, so I don't want to get too negative at the beginning of the video, so let's get into it. Let's get into the survivor side first, because it's the side that I find the most fun, the least frustrating. It's a lot of fun playing the survivor on this game, and compared to a game like Dead by Daylight, which I'm going to do a lot of Dead by Daylight comparisons because I feel like this game is going to share its player base with Dead by Daylight heavily and, you know, find its new audience and stuff. But I find the survivor side a lot more active than Dead by Daylight and a lot more fun than Dead by Daylight. It's just fun in general. It's even more fun than playing the monster on this game. On Dead by Daylight, you're trying to escape. You fix 5 generators. Once they're fixed, you power the exit gate and then you leave. Your whole thing is that you're trying to escape this killer who's trying to kill you. On this game, you're trying to craft weapons to kill the killer. So the roles are kind of reversed. The killer's still trying to kill you on this game, but you're also trying to kill the killer, and you have to kill the killer with 4 different weapon types. They're called stigmas, and once you kill the killer with those stigmas, or the monster with those stigmas, then you win. And there is no situation on this game where, like on Dead by Daylight, the killer can kill 3 survivors and you can count that as a win even if the 4th one escaped. On this game, it's either you kill the monster or you don't, or you lose. There is no in between of, oh, we won because, you know, 3 of us were alive when. There is no situation like that. You either win or you lose. And that's kind of fun. And the same for Monster. Monster has to kill everybody or else they die. There is no escaping. And it's kind of cool because each stigma has its 3 different weapon types, at least in the beta that I played before the early access. I don't know how the early access is going to be. I don't know if that's going to be changed in the early access or as the game goes on. But right now, there's like different stigma types. So for example, there's like flame weapons. And the first one you get is like a flamethrower. But as you level up, you can unlock Molotov cocktail and some weird, I don't know what it is, like a flame trap. When you're going to craft your weapon, you can choose what type of weapon you want before you craft, and they each have their own thing. Some of them have more range. Some of them are one-time use, but it's a giant AoE. Things like that. And I find that making those type of decisions based off the killer that you're going against, or just how much fun you want to have, or if you want to practice a certain weapon, the fact that you could just make those decisions real quick is real fun. And I like the fact that there's different weapon types. I find that it's the survivor gameplay very active, very fun, and hiding from the killer is fun too. You're not looping the killer on this game. This is not a game where you're going around dropping pallets, looping them around the pallet. That's not happening on this game. If the killer wants to kill you, they'll kill you. If you don't have a weapon, of course. Once you have a weapon, that's a whole different story, and we'll get into that when we start talking about the killer. But so far, I find the gameplay of the survivor very fun. You also have a ping system and voice chat, which is something that Dead by Daylight doesn't have. I don't know how I feel about it totally. It's great for convenience. It's great that you can tell your teammates where the killer is at. It's amazing that you can just ping your location at any time. You can ping when you're working on a weapon. You can ping to show the progress on how close you are with that weapon. Like, there's a lot of information that you can give your friends. So playing solo, the experience isn't so frustrating anymore. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about voice chat. You know, when people aren't being idiots, which in my experience, I would say like 99% of the time they're not being idiots and they're just giving call outs or having fun for the most part in the voice chat. You know, your experience will vary. I was playing in the beta with only like 400 people playing at any given time. So there wasn't too many people anyway, and they would get in the same lobbies with the same people. So that's pretty cool. And honestly, one of the coolest things about this game is the customization. If you come from Dead by Daylight, you know what are you customizing? Like your shoes, your pants, and your top, or something like that. It's like your top, your pants, and your head. That's what it is as a survivor. Even as a killer, you're choosing like your weapon, your body type and your head or something like that. It's not a lot of customization, right? On this game, you're choosing like your shoes, your pants, your wrist, your gloves, your glasses, your hair, or you can put on like full costume, your face. There's a lot of customization. And one of the things I find cool about the customization is that, say I unlock a shirt for the survivor or the team that I'm playing as, right? I can now take that shirt and put it on other teams. I think as long as it's female, but some of the shirts I think go between male and female, I believe. Or you'll unlock both variants. You'll unlock a male version and a female version once you get the outfit or like the shirt or the shoes or whatever. But some of the teams share clothing, so you don't have to keep buying stuff for every single team. You can customize the character how you want. So you can have different teams in the game, but they all kind of share a similar style if you guys just want to be stupid and make something happen, right? You can have fun with the customization. I like it a lot, and I feel like graphically looks better. They're kind of going for a different thing. It's going for like a 80s, old school 80s teen horror flick, where Dead by Daylight is going for like this slasher type stuff. This slasher like look. It looks different, but I find overall the graphically VHS looks better, and that just helps the customization and the outfits that you unlock look better. I would say the only downside to playing teen so far is the long queue times. Now that might change with the game going into early access here soon. Like I said, there's only been around like 400 to 500 people playing this game at any given time. The queue times are just naturally gonna be longer because there's not that many people playing. But when you're playing as a survivor or a teen, I keep calling them survivors, so I'm so used to Dead by Daylight, so you gotta excuse me. When you're playing as a teen, it takes so long to get into a match. I'm talking about anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes every single time, and the matches don't last that long. For the most part, I feel like the queue times are way longer than the match. Or maybe you're just having so much fun in the match that it don't feel as long. The queue times are the biggest problem right now. Naturally, that's gonna happen if there's not a lot of people playing, but the biggest problem with this game, and we're about to get into it, is that people don't want to play the killer. You have this high ratio of teen players that want to play the game as a teen because it's fun, and then you have, out of these 500 people, maybe less than 100 of them want to play as a killer. And so the ratio's off. The teen players can't find any killers to play with, so they have to wait upwards of 10 minutes. They have to wait till these other monsters that are in matches get out of their matches so they can get matched up with them. There's a big reason why that is, why nobody wants to play Monster, and I'm gonna get into it right now. They're all right there with weapons. What can I do against that? Literally nothing. There's literally nothing I could have done right there. All right, let's get into talking about the killer. And me talking about the killer is gonna be a much more different experience than me talking about the survivor, because I had a much more fun time playing as a survivor on this game than I did have playing as a killer on this game. Or a monster. I keep mixing them up, but I'm gonna mix it up from DBD just because I'm so used to the DBD vernacular or whatever. Playing as the killer on this game is very much not fun. At least in the early stages, which is what I've only played, is the early stages. And unlocking the perks and stuff like that is what you need to do to make your killer stronger, but it's just not a fun experience playing as the killer at all. But one of the good things is that you get into matches faster. You don't have to wait 10 minutes, it's more like 10 seconds to get into a match. And that's because the player base as a whole, they don't want to play as the killer because it's so frustrating. It's a lot more frustrating than it is on Dead by Daylight. Way more frustrating. And I think it just boils down to flow of the match, how unfun the skills are to use as a killer. They're not satisfying. And how strong the survivors are once they have weapons. Also, how hard it is to track where they're at as a killer. Track where the survivors are at on this game. I'm gonna start with the flow of the match and then lead into everything else. Now, for the first minute of the match, it's your standard asymmetrical fare. You find a survivor and you try to down them as quick as possible. They're not gonna have a weapon in the first minute of the match because they have to craft them, right? They have to find a crafting station and then they have to craft a weapon of choice. So once you find a survivor, it's fairly easy to kill them, actually. You're not getting looped around a pallet. You're not getting looped around a wall or a jungle gym or whatever. That's just not happening. Now, they can do things to stall the chase a little bit. They can hop over walls and try to get you to miss swings. But if you're chasing these survivors, there's no looping. You're killing them, and you're killing them pretty quick too at that. The problem comes in once they have weapons. And once they have weapons after the first minute of the match, the game gets slowed down to like a halt. It just stops. And the reason why that is because you are no longer the hunter and you are now on the defensive. They are hunting you down. And it's much easier for them to kill you than it is for you to kill them at that point. It's 4 of them. They're working together. Once they're in a group and they all have weapons, it's very, very hard to single one of them out. And even if you do single one of them out, their game plan is going to be to run to one of their friends so then they can take you out. This game is heavily based off of like ambush tactics, not for you as a killer, but for the survivors. And what I mean by that is, for example, I smack somebody and I get them injured and now they run away. I know which way they ran, right? I'm chasing them down to kill them, to down them. Every corner on this map, a survivor could be hiding behind, and they could just pop out the corner, hit you with a weapon. And oftentimes that's the way that you're gonna die, is that the survivor pops out from around the corner and kills you, or you turn a corner and they're just waiting there with a weapon and they kill you. So it leads to situations where even when you enter somebody, you don't want to down them because of the potential of somebody being there to kill you. Or it just leads to a situation where you're now playing so defensive because you don't want to lose your stigma. And of course, when you lose 4 stigmas, you lose. That the game lasts way longer. And you know that they're hunting you, so you have to stay away from them. Your tracking abilities are good enough to where you know how to stay away from them, but they're not good enough to know to pinpoint their exact location. But their tracking of you is good enough to where you can pinpoint the killer's exact location. So they should know where you're at any given point. And even if they don't know where you're at across the map, they can ping where you're at, or they can voice chat where you're at. And this is where I find that the pings in the voice chat is a little bit too strong, and there should be ways to prevent pings. And I feel like the voice chat should maybe be proximity, not for you as a killer, but for the teams. I don't know if voice chat should work across the map. And I don't even know if ping should work across the map. There should be no situation where they know where I'm at even though they're not near me, like across the map. And both of us have the same objective, right? We both have to kill each other. So why does this one side get such an advantage to track me across the map and I can't do that? I can't track them across the map like they can. And it just leads to a very frustrating experience. Getting on to the point of tracking, since the games last so long and you don't want to, you don't want to injure somebody, you don't want to down somebody because you're scared that anybody can be around the corner with a weapon. Once you leave them alone and you go somewhere else, you try to find an alternate route to get to the person that you're trying to kill or whatever. It's so hard to find where they went. It's so hard to track them. Once you injure somebody, they leave like bloodstain on the ground or whatever. But the bloodstain is so hard to see and it goes away so quick that once you injure somebody, if you looked the wrong way, if you turned the wrong way, the bloodstain is gone already. And it's like, well, I hit them, I don't know where they went. Or if you hit them and you do know where they went, but you have to back off because you're gonna get hit by a weapon, good luck trying to find them again. You have footstep sounds you can use to track them. You have like, they crafting a weapon, you can tell when they're crafting a weapon, similar to when you can tell somebody's working on a generator in Dead by Daylight. And you have your tracking ability, which I can tell you right now is not very good. It's good enough to know that somebody's near or the general location of where they could be at, but it's not good enough to track exactly where they're at. So it leads to situations where you're playing hide and seek with the teens. You're playing hide and seek with them, and I can tell you right now that they can seek you out and hide much better than you can from them. And it's gonna be very hard. They can hide around a corner from you because they can just crouch and they're silent. Even when they're injured, they're completely silent. In Dead by Daylight, you need a perk for that, right? You need a whole dedicated perk to be silent while you're injured. On this game, it just comes for free. You're just silent while you're injured. and it leads to situations where it's very easy for an injured person to hide from you. It's often that you're gone 3 minutes without finding anybody, just because it's so easy for them to hide, and they're trying to ambush you. They're not trying to kill you out in the open, that they hide until they get an advantageous spot to kill you. And it leads to a very frustrating experience where it's like, I don't feel like searching for these people anymore. I don't want to have to search for these people anymore. Just come out so I can kill you, or come out so you can kill me. That's what it feels like. There is a mechanic in the game that circumvents this, and it's called like the rift or whatever. And I heard there's a super rift, but I've never seen that before. What the rift does is once you capture it, it appears on the map after so much time of inactivity. And what I mean by inactivity, you not finding the survivor or interacting with them at all. The rift appears and you can capture it, and it takes some time to capture. And once you capture it, you can now see where the survivors are at. The downside to the rift is that the teams also know where it's at. So what happens is you go to capture the rift, which often is successful. You can capture the rift as a monster. You go over there, you now know the locations of where they're at for like some seconds, it's a little bit, and you can chase them. And once you injure one of them, you can no longer see where they're at. But if you have a weapon, you know the monster is going to go there, right? So what your plan is now, you go to the rift and you wait for the monster to show up. And once the monster shows up, you take him out with the weapon. And the rift is in the open. It's not behind cover or anything at. Most of the time, the rift is in the open spot where the survivors have a good chance of killing you. It leads to the situation where sometimes you can't even capture the rift. And once the survivors capture the rift, I believe it shows the location of where you're at. So now, on top of it being hard to track where they're at, they know exactly where you're at, even though you don't have any idea where they're at other than they were just at the rift. But it doesn't matter if you were just at the rift. They know where you're at. They know that you're coming. They can hide from you, even if they're near the rift, and you can't do anything about it. It's a very frustrating experience playing as the killer. Now, I've heard that at higher level, all these complaints that people have, even the complaints that I have, go away. And the experience becomes a lot better, but you have to get to that point. That's what I've heard. I didn't get to that point during the beta, and I don't know if I want to even try to get to that point after the beta is over. And the only thing that can probably make me want to get to that point is just not dealing with the queue times as a survivor. Honestly, playing the killer on this game is very frustrating. And I find one of the final things that makes it frustrating, or not even like, it's not that it's frustrating, but just not fun, is that the abilities are not satisfying to use. Every monster that I've played so far, I guess the Doll Master would be the funnest killer to use. The Doll Master is probably the most fun killer to use, but even then, I don't like the playstyle. The abilities either boil down to you can run fast, you can leap, oh, you can see where they're at, or you can block an ability, you can block an attack. There's never a moment where you feel like you did something like crazy. And oftentimes it's just like a sigh of relief. Oh, I didn't die. Oh, I hit them and I'm alive. It's like, thank God. It's mostly a sigh of relief and less of something you did that was hype in the game. And the abilities are just not fun, or they're just underwhelming. On top of like when you're getting hit by the survivors, you know, you're getting slowed by a weapon, it feels like you can't do anything. I think the killer experience, just to like not make the video last too long and not ramble, because it sounds like I'm rambling just because of how frustrating it is to talk about the killer, that is so hard to like boil it down into one thing. But I'm going to try to boil it down into one thing right now. It feels like there's nothing you can do at a point into the game, which is very early on into the game. It just feels like there's nothing you can do as a killer. And oftentimes I had matches where I was just like, you know what, kill me, and so we can get on to the next match. I'm gonna just stand out in the open, you can kill me, let's go on to the next match. Because it often feels like you just can't do anything. And that's where I feel like the playing as a killer or the monster is the least fun. It's very frustrating to play. It's way less fun to play than the Dead by Daylight killer. And it makes me want to be like a survivor main on this game as opposed to me being a killer main on Dead by Daylight. Just because it feels like there's nothing you can do at a point. Like literally feels like there's nothing you can do. And then you die, and then you tell yourself, what was I supposed to do there? Then you ask people, Do you guys know what I could have done there to make that better? And I don't know if they know because it's just situations where you can't. I feel like I've gone long enough talking about the killer. The game is in early, or is coming to early access. This is the beta state. I want them to make the killer better. I'm not trashing the game. I'm not even trashing like how the killer plays, because some people might find it fun, and I feel like the people that don't get angry at video games quick and just find fun, or the people that find fun in learning from mistakes and stuff like that, might find it entertaining. But I just want them to make the killer experience better, and I want this game to be good. And I feel like the way that they're going with the survivor side is amazing. Very fun survivor gameplay, in my opinion. Like I said, the problem is the queue times, and what I'm scared of is that the killer side is so frustrating that even when the game becomes available for everyone to play, it's still not going to fix the issues of the queue times because of how frustrating it is to play the killer. You're just going to have a bigger player base with less killers, or more survivors and still not a lot of killers. Still, the queue times are going to be 15 minutes long, and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen unless they change up the killer experience and make it way less frustrating to play. I would like to be a killer main on this game. I find it fun, and oftentimes I'm playing by myself, so why not play a killer when I'm playing by myself, you know? But at the moment, it's just way too frustrating to want to deal with it. But I'm probably going to continue to deal with it anyway, just because the queue times are just way too long as a survivor. Overall though, even though I'm negative on the killer experience and would like for it to be better, overall I think this game is pretty good in the state that it's in, and I do find it way more fun and enjoyable to play than Dead by Daylight, honestly. And it has a lot of potential. Now, you shouldn't be playing the game off the potential it has, because a lot of games never reach that potential, and they'll build a player base off of the potential they have. But this game seems like to have a solid foundation to where the potential, they just need to add more killers, more survivors and stuff, and I'm pretty sure they will. And the game was going to be free to play, which is a big plus, you know? And they've said that it's only cosmetics that you can buy. So, you know, take that how you will. I think the game is great. I'll be playing it more often. Like I said, the problems with the killer at the moment just make the killer experience very frustrating to play and unfun. I'm sure that'll change in the future. That'll be better in the future, and I'm sure they don't want to lose their player base, so I'm sure they'll fix the issues that the killer have, because the survivor gameplay is very solid, and I wouldn't change too much about it. I wouldn't make it less fun, honestly. Anyway, now I actually am rambling, and I'm gonna end the video here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed what I was talking about, and if you guys want to check out the game, it should be coming out free here soon. You can't access it anymore. It's down until it comes into early access. Thank you guys for watching the video. I appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed the game, it's called VHS, or Video Horror Society. And if you guys enjoy my videos, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever they be saying. And follow me on Twitch, where most of this gameplay is from. And links will be in the description. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care and peace out.